Okay, so good evening, class.
Evening, ma'am.
Good evening po.
Okay, so time check. It's already 9:44 p.m. in my clock, and it's too late for us to have a class today. So thank you for attending this class. Okay, so may I ask, how are you doing, Miss Cheska first?
Okay, so I just ate my dinner, so my energy is replenished.
So we've used up the energy all day. So now we ate dinner and we're quite recharged. Okay, so what about you, Miss Jana?
Just like what Miss Cheska have said, I was also exhausted earlier, but since I had my dinner, my energy is replenished.
Okay, so that's why dinner is really important because it gives us the chance to recharge ourselves for us to sleep safe and sound. Okay, so guys, are you now ready for our discussion?
Yes,
Yes
ma'am.
po.
Okay, so now let's start. Okay, so I will show you a conversation between a guest and a receptionist. So the setting is at the ticket office. So you guys will read this conversation. So the guest will be Miss Cheska, and then the receptionist will be Miss Jana. Okay, so as you read the conversation, please take note of the questions being asked in this conversation. Okay, so please observe how the question functions. What are the information being asked in this conversation? Okay, so I ask you to prepare your paper and ball pen. Okay, so that we may have this activity. Okay, so will you please start reading the conversation? Please turn on your microphones. Okay, so you may now start.
May I know how much a flight to London costs?
A business class ticket to London is $600. An economy class ticket to London is $325.
Do you know how many hours the flight takes?
The flight duration is 5 hours.
Could you tell me what time the plane departs?
The plane departs at 1:45 p.m. Passengers must check in 3 hours before the flight.
May I know what the baggage weight restriction is?
The baggage weight restriction is 30 kilograms for business class and 15 kilograms for economy.
Could you tell me if the meals will be served on flight?
There is unlimited food and drink for business class passengers, and one meal is served for economy class passengers.
Okay, great. So, um, may I ask, what are they talking about? Let us hear from Miss Jana. What are they talking about?
I guess they are talking about the things or the details when taking a flight to London.
Okay, so as the conversation says, the conversation is about how to take a flight to London. Okay. So next question is what does the guest elicit from the receptionist by asking questions? Let us hear from Miss Cheska.
I think the guest elicits answers on particularly pieces of information.
Okay, so the questions asked to the receptionist requires or asks for an information. Okay, so now I will read the conversation once again. So for you to jot down and for you to better understand the conversation, I will read it once again. So your task now is to um, have or find the information being asked in these questions. So we have five questions in this conversation. So the first question is, may I know how much a flight to London costs? Okay, so um, the information being asked in this question is the price of a flight ticket. So that's what you will answer. Okay, in question number one. So I already gave the answer, so that will just be an example. So for the remaining questions, you will be the one to know what information is being asked in these questions. So let me read this conversation once again for you to be focused. Okay, so let me start. So the guest said, may I know how much a flight to London costs? So, business class ticket to London is $600. An economy class ticket to London is $325. Do you know how many hours the flight takes? The flight duration is 5 hours. Could you tell me what time the plane departs? The plane departs at 1:45 p.m. Passengers must check in 3 hours before the flight. Okay, so next. May I know what the baggage weight restriction is? The baggage weight restriction is 30 kilograms for business class and 15 kilograms for economy. Could you tell me if the meals will be served on flight? There is unlimited food and drink for business class passengers and one meal is served for economy class passengers. Okay, so are you now done eliciting what information is being asked in these questions? Are you done?
Ma'am, can you uh try to go back to the past last page?
Okay. So the first page, you mean? Okay, so
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
let me read it once again, okay? And let me read it slowly for you to better understand, okay? So I think it's kind of hard. I'm so sorry. Okay, so let me start once again. May I know how much a flight to London costs? A business class ticket to London is $600. An economy class ticket to London is $325. Do you know how many hours the flight takes? The flight duration is 5 hours. Could you tell me what time the plane departs? The plane departs at 1:45 p.m. Passengers must check in 3 hours before the flight. The next page. May I know what the baggage weight restriction is? The baggage weight restriction is 30 kilograms for business class and 15 kilograms for economy. Could you tell me if the meals will be served on flight? There is unlimited food and drink for business class passengers and one meal is served for economy class passengers. Okay, so do you now all understand it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Okay, so let us check your answers. So let us first hear from Miss Jana. What are your answers?
My answers for the questions.
Oh, wait.
The hours.
Your answer in the first question, in the second question, I mean. So you do you know how many hours the flight takes? What is the information being asked there?
So the hours of flight or the flight duration is 5 hours.
Okay, so the information being asked is the hours of flight. Okay.
Fine.
So in the third question, Miss Jessica, what is your answer?
Okay, so for the question, could you tell me what time the plane departs? I think this question asks for the time of plane, where the plane departs, or the time of plane departure.
Okay, that's great. So um, it says here that the plane departs at 1:45 p.m. So that's the information being um, presented. And then the next question, Miss Jana, what is your answer?
So in the question, may I know what the baggage weight restriction is? The information being elicited is the baggage weight restriction.
Okay. So the last question, Miss Jessica.
Okay, for the question, could you tell me if the meals will be served on flight? This question asks about the meal on
Okay.
flight will be eaten.
Okay. Indeed. So, if your answers are like what I will present here, then you are correct. Okay, so the answers were price of flight ticket, which was what I said, hours of flight, time of plane departure, baggage weight restriction, and meals on flight. So these kind of questions being asked by the guest elicits information. Okay, so information about the inquiry that you have asked, just like the information about the flight to London. Okay, so these are some of the information that you need when you are going to have a flight to London. So now let us move on to a new context. Okay? So now I am going to play a video. Okay? So what you gonna do is you have to listen to the video being presented, and you have to jot down the questions being asked. Okay? So I will repeat the video maybe 2 or 3 times for you to better understand it. Okay? That clear?
Yes po.
Okay. So let me play the video now. Okay, so the speakers were quite fast speakers, you know. Okay, so let me repeat the video once again. So please jot down the questions being asked. Okay, because we will observe it later. So let me repeat it once again. Okay, so would you like me to repeat it once again? Or is it enough already?
Um, can you please repeat it again? I did not
Okay.
catch quite some parts of it.
Okay, so let me repeat it for the last time. Okay. I hope you understand it better. Okay. Let me repeat it. Okay, is it enough now? Were you able to jot down the questions being asked?
I think yes.
Yes po.
So it's
Hopefully.
kind of yeah. So it's kind of hard to understand, but please let us catch up with these interview. Okay. So what are your answers? What were the questions that you have elicited? Let's hear from Miss Cheska.
I actually got three questions. Okay, first is could you describe what your responsibilities were? And the second one is could you tell us why you quit? And the third one is the longest question. And it's could you tell us why you would like to work for our company?
Okay, great.
Question.
So you had three questions. Okay. So what about you, Miss Jana? What are the questions that you have elicited from these video?
It's the same from what I got. It's the same from Miss Cheska. So the first is, could you describe what your responsibilities were? And the other one is, can you tell us why you quit? And the next one is, could you tell us why you would like to work for our company?
Okay, so you had the same answer because we watched the same video, obviously. Okay. So next, next is let us see the questions being asked in the first scene, which is the ticket office. So these are the questions that we have observed. So let me read it. May I know how much a flight to London costs? Do you know how many hours the flight takes? Could you tell me what time the plane departs? May I know what the baggage weight restriction is? Could you tell me if the meals will be served on flight? And then, just like what you have said, so these were the questions being asked in the second context, which is the job interview. So first is, could you describe what your responsibilities were? Can you tell us why you quit? Could you tell us why you would like to work for our company? Okay. So from these questions, so may I ask, uh, may I ask the both of you first? Okay. So this is my question first. So, what are your observations regarding the questions? So these two sets of questions, what are your observations from this when it comes to the context, to the form, and to the approach as well? So may I first hear from Miss Jana?
Based on my observation, the two scenes which were from which are at the ticket office, and the next one is at a job interview. These two scenes are at a formal setting.
Okay, so
That's it.
these Okay, so when it comes to the context, so you are right, Miss Jana. So the first one at the ticket office and the second one at the job interview. So these type of setting were formal, okay, where we talk to people who are not who we do not know personally. So it is called a formal setting. Okay, so what about you, Miss Cheska? What is your observation about this type of questions?
I observed that when it comes to the form, I could say that the question is the questions are kind of complete, or should I say the one that we use in the formal context, or maybe in the academe or in the corporate field, and it does not sound personal or informal as well.
Okay, so yes, you are right. So when it comes to the form, these questions were not the questions that we can ask to our mother, that we can ask to our siblings, or we can ask to our friends. Okay, so maybe this type of, or not maybe, but actually, this type of questions are the questions that we can ask to the higher ups, the authority, okay, or maybe the people we do not know. Okay, so the people who needs to be respected because considering the setting, we are in formal setting. Okay, so those were some of your observations. So when it comes to the approach, what do you say about that? Let us hear once again from Miss Jana.
When it comes to approach, the questions were asked in a polite way, and I agree to what Miss Jessica have said earlier that it does not sound personal.
Okay, so just like what I said, these type of questions were not the type of questions that you would ask to someone close to you. So maybe if you're gonna ask someone close to you, maybe you will just shout at them like, "Hey, what are you doing? Are you free tonight?" Yeah, just like that. But these type of questions were not like what I have just said. So these questions were asked, yup, in a polite way because indeed it is used in formal context or formal setting. Okay, so when we consolidate these observations that we had, now I will introduce to you our topic, or should I say what type of questions are these questions being presented. So we call this type of questions indirect questions. Okay. So based on your observation, so we will have the definition here. So Miss Cheska, please read the definition.
Indirect questions are more polite than direct questions. They are very common in formal spoken English, particularly when asking for information.
Okay. So the first point here is more polite. So the one who said who said more polite, it's Miss Jana. Okay, Miss Jana said that these questions were asked in a polite way. So indeed, indirect questions are more polite than direct questions. So in here, direct questions. So these are the questions um, that is used in informal setting, or it is used when you're talking to someone close to you. But our topic for today is about indirect questions, which is indeed more polite, okay, than direct questions. Next, point is they are very common in formal spoken English, just like the two settings or the two contexts that we have discussed, which is first the at the ticket office, and then the second one is at the job interview. So we call those contexts or those settings as formal, just like what who said that? Maybe Miss Jessica, which is used in formal setting, particularly when asking for information. Okay, so uh, the at the ticket office, we the guest asked for information about the flight to London, about the process on how to take a flight to London. Okay, that's an information already. And then at the second context, there's a job interview. Okay, so the employer is asking for information about the employee, like why should we like the reasons why should we hire you, just like that. Okay, so in indirect questions, we have these patterns. Okay, so the pattern is, Miss Jana, will you please read the pattern?
The pattern of indirect questions is first opening phrase plus question word plus subject plus verb.
Okay, so let me repeat. So the pattern is opening phrase plus question word plus subject plus verb. Miss Cheska, will you please repeat the pattern for indirect questions?
The pattern for indirect questions is opening phrase plus question word plus subject plus verb.
Okay, so now that we know already the pattern, so let me share to you some phrases for indirect questions. Okay. So some of the phrases that were used a while ago in our the examples in the text presented were um, could you tell me, do you know? Okay, so the other examples were do you have any idea? Would it be possible? Is there any chance? Would you mind? Okay, so let us remember that when we are constructing indirect questions, we should use first the opening phrase, okay, just like these examples, and then followed by a question word, followed by a subject, and followed by a verb. Please remember that the subject, when it comes to indirect questions, the subject comes before the verb. Okay? Let us not be confused. So now your task is, this is your last activity. This is your last task for this lesson. So you are required, or you will be asked to make indirect questions based on these based on the opening phrases that I have provided. Okay, so I will give you um 3 minutes. Wait, let me set the time. So yeah, I will give you 3 minutes for you to construct um let us say construct two indirect questions. Okay, so timer starts now. Okay, time's up. So are you now done listing or
Yes,
creating
ma'am.
indirect questions? Okay,
Yes,
so Miss
Yes.
Jana is done. Miss Jessica is done as well. So Miss, let us first hear Miss Jessica's answers. I think you're muted, Miss Jessica.
sorry. Sorry. Oh my god. Okay. And for the first question is, I think, so I will use the do you know phrase.
Okay,
Okay. Do you know where the Rojas Hall is? That's my first question.
okay.
And so for the second question, I will also use the do you know? Do you know who the president of the university is?
Okay, so you like the opening phrase, do you know, huh?
Yes, yes, that's my favorite opening phrase.
Okay, so let us first would you tell your first question again, please?
Okay. Do you know where the Rojas Hall is?
Okay, so from your question, will you please locate where is the opening phrase, where is the question word, where is the subject, where is the verb there in your question?
So the opening phrase is do you know?
Okay.
Where is the question word? Rojas
Mm-hmm.
Hall is the subject, is
Okay.
the verb.
Okay, so you're right. So, Miss Jana, does Miss Jessica follow the pattern with what she said?
Yes po.
Okay, so you got the approval of Miss Jana, Miss Jessica. Okay, so will you please tell your second question?
Okay, my second question is, do you know who the president of the university is?
Okay, so you are asking for the information about who the president of the university is. Okay, so will you please locate once again the patterns for the indirect questions that we had?
Okay. So, do you know is the opening phrase?
Yep.
Who is the question word? The president of the university is the subject and is the verb.
Okay, so you're right. Job well done, Miss Jessica. You now know how to make indirect questions. Okay, so
Thank you.
next, Miss Jana, let us hear your answers.
My answers are, the first question is, could you tell me why you were late? And the second is, do you have any idea why she is acting like that?
Okay, so the second question is kind of intriguing, like, all right, okay. So, so the first question, let us examine your answer. So, would you please tell your question once again? The first question, the first one.
The first question is, could you tell me why you were late?
Okay, so will you please locate the patterns that we had in
So
your
the
question?
the opening phrase is, could you tell me? The question word is why, subject is you, and the verb is where.
Okay, so you're right. Okay, so um, Miss Cheska uh is Miss Jana correct on what she said?
I think she is correct.
Okay, okay. So yeah, so the opening phrase is could you tell me, and then the question word is why, subject is you, verb is were. Okay. So you're right. And then so the next question, will you please tell us, Miss Jana, what's your next question?
The second question is, do you have any idea why she is acting like that?
Okay. So will you please locate the patterns once again?
The opening phrase is, do you have any idea? The question word is why. The subject is she and the verb is is.
Okay, so you are right. Oh wait, I think you now used the opening phrase. Do you have any idea which were not used a while ago? Okay, so that's good one. And then the question word is why. The subject is she, and then the verb um is acting. Okay, so that's the verb. Okay, so is that noted, Miss Jana?
Yes po, thank you for correcting me.
Okay, so let us please have a virtual clap for ourselves. So you did great for this night. You did great for this night. Okay, so once again, let me sum it up. Let me summarize. So indirect questions are used in a formal context most commonly. Okay, so indirect questions are used to ask information, and indirect questions are more polite when it comes to approach than direct questions. Okay, so Miss Jessica, will you please repeat the pattern for making indirect questions?
For indirect question is the opening phrase, the question word, the subject, and the verb.
Okay, Miss Jana, will you please repeat what Miss Jessica has said?
So the pattern for indirect question is opening phrase plus question word plus subject plus a verb.
Okay, great. So now that we have known the use of indirect questions, its pattern, how to create it, and where is it used. So I hope that you have learned something in our discussion for today about indirect questions. Okay. So let see you on our next class. Okay, I had a great time with you guys. So goodbye and good night. Okay, so please, I hope you will have a good night and sleep well. Goodbye,
Thank you,
Thank you,
guys.
ma'am.
Thank
ma'am. Bye bye
Bye.
po.
you.